Thanks, Dan. Like Dan said, my name is Nathan Kegel. I've been with IES for about 4 months. Prior to that, I worked for an architecture and engineering firm in the Minneapolis area called HGA. We actually had 7 offices around the country. But I've been a user of the VE for about 4 years, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about first about who IES is, what we do, what differentiates our tools from the other tools that you may or may not be familiar with. I'm also going to talk to you about a specific project that I did at HGA that was sort of a pilot project where we started to truly integrate design, our architects with our engineers throughout the entire phase, and how the VE facilitated that and made that a much simpler process than it would have otherwise been. We've been around since 1994. We have several offices around the world. In addition to being a software company, these are some, before I get into that, these are some of our current users. All of these are users in the North American market. Obviously, we have really large firms on there, but we also sell to firms that are four-person architectural firms, 5-person engineering firms, 6-person architects, so that sort of thing. We run the gamut. We don't just have tools for big firms. We have tools for small firms as well. So we develop the tools. We have 4 different levels to our software. I'll get into a more detail on that. I know you guys are probably most interested. I'm assuming most of you are architects. If not, architects. Yeah, most of you are architects, engineers. Other? All right, perfect. I'm going to focus mostly on the architectural thing. I'm not going to get real technical, but certainly I'm a mechanical engineer by background, so I can get real technical. If the engineers have technical questions, happy to discuss them, answer them as well. But in addition to being a software developer, we're also an international consultancy firm, so we've done a lot of work worldwide. Some of our clients include Walmart internationally. We've done projects for London Heathrow Terminal 5. We've done projects in UAE. We've done projects at the MGM City Center, Las Vegas, for example. We've done a lot of big projects around the world. It makes us unique in that we're not just selling you a tool. We're able to actually help change the way that you do work through that tool and consult with you on how to make that tool work better for your business. We come out with 3 to 4 major releases a year. 6.4.0 is the current release. 6.4.1 will be coming out in 10 days. I'm going to talk a little bit about some sneak peek preview features that are coming out with 6.4.1. We're tested and validated around the world, ASHRAE Standard 140 compliant, CIBSE Technical Manual 33 compliant. We're suitable for doing Green Star analysis. We're EPACT approved. You can use this software for 179D tax credits. We also interoperate with a variety of different softwares out there on the market. We interoperate with Google SketchUp, both the free and the pro version, Revit MEP, Revit Architecture, GBXML Link. We link with Gaia, which is used for doing ground loop or geothermal system sizing and economic analysis. We also have a new partnership with Trelligence, which is an architectural space programming tool that architects like the GSA work in hospitals, those types of things. Certainly other types of things as well, but you can apply your space programming data right from Trelligence. You can use our energy modeling tool to do programmatical level energy analysis studies. The 4 different levels we have: the VEware, the VE Toolkits, VE Gaia, and VE Pro. VEware is completely free. It's been downloaded tens of thousands of times around the world. It enables for conceptual analysis and tracking for Architecture 2030 targets. So you can start to make changes to the shape, form of the building, change the constructions, change the occupancy type, change the HVAC system, and see the impact on the Architecture 2030 challenge at a conceptual level. It'll also output an annual energy use, so you can get an EUI out of the software as well. Not a breakdown. It's a very basic tool for conceptual analysis, and it's also free. And it integrates with Google SketchUp and within Revit. It'll work in the add-ins toolbar within Revit. The toolkits, they add in a lot more functionality, so we can start to take a look at analyzing or studying lead credits. We can get a breakdown of beyond just annual energy use. Now we can take a look at month-by-month use. We can start to take a look at simple solar shading, taking a look at light penetration. We get into Gaia. It's a very simple, easy-to-use set of tools that will take you through like a DD stage. So now you can start to make a custom wall type or a custom glass type and start to really get into a deeper dive and optimizing a given set of studies or a given set of analysis. And VE Pro is the full-blown, full whistles and bells, does everything you need to really do on a type of a study. So we can get really detailed HVAC systems. In a climate such as Seattle, we can do Mixed mode studies, where we're looking at the impact of natural ventilation, controlling to a temperature based on natural ventilation, studying the amount of air that can come through a window based on wind current, based on temperature. We can also override temperature. We can model the CO2 sensor in a space, so we can find out, even if temperature is satisfied but there's not enough wind to move the air out to get fresh air in, we can override we can override the windows and say we still have to turn our HVAC system on to drive the CO2 level down. We can also do energy modeling for leads, so 90.1 PRM. We have a navigator that will walk you through the process and make it a more streamlined process if that's something that you need to do. You can go back and forth between these levels. So I can start in VEware, I can go into toolkits, I can go to Pro, I can go back to Gaia. I don't have to worry about data being corrupted. I can very easily move between the software levels quickly and effortlessly. So we have two different ways of looking at this. This is like the old school, and by old school I mean like 3 years ago, way of doing analysis, where you're looking at a particular module. I want to study solar, so let's go into our solar module and do a deep dive on solar. I want to look at light. I want to look at my HVAC system. I can go into all these modules, and then through a series of checkboxes, I can link them back together into a master model and study the whole impact of the system, if you will. We've also developed now what we call Navigators. One of the big points of feedback that we got was, well, your software is very powerful, but we don't see that we can easily and quickly pick this up. So we said, right, how can we make it easier and quicker for people to learn how to use? We added in what we call Navigators. Some of the feedback that we've gotten from customers that started, like me, using the modular and then added on the Navigators. One of our customers is Kohler Ronin. They said it reduced the time to do lead energy modeling for performance rating method by 45%. That's a significant savings, obviously. They also said it's reduced the opportunity for error because you're building one model. You're not building multiple models and multiple tools. You're building one set of model. So you're eliminating data from having, or eliminating the opportunity for error from only having one data model. Some more things. There are things in the VE, like for example, mixed mode, natural ventilation studies. You can do in the VE. I don't know of another tool that you can do them in. You can't do them in eQuest. You can't do them in Train Trace. You can't do them in Energy Plus. I think it's the only tool. When I was looking at this at HGA from a standpoint of how do I pick the tool that's going to best suit the project, I'll give you a case study of what I went through to get to this point. The VE was hands down the only opportunity to study natural ventilation in mixed mode systems. Independently, the several universities have taken the approach of talking to architects about what tool they use. They studied 10 different tools, the VE, HEED, eQuest, Ecotect. And this was done in 2009, prior, so about it was actually done, the survey was actually conducted in 2008, the results were published in 2009. Before Navigators were a part of the VE, right, the step that we took to make it easier to use the software, we were still the easiest to use. The architects still said that the VE was the easiest software to use. I think if we redid that survey, I think it would be about 90% easily with the introduction to Navigators. And one model for your entire project. Things that we can do. I'm not going to read off all of this list because this is a very intensive slide, but we can do computational fluid dynamics inside the building and outside the building. We can do detailed HVAC systems, either from a predefined selection, and our newest version in 6.4.1, there'll be 50 predefined HVAC systems, very detailed HVAC systems. All of those are fully customizable down to the node level. We can also take a look at external illuminance levels, interior illuminance levels, glare analysis, renewable energy studies, wind, PV, geothermal, etc. We're saving time because we're bringing in all of the ASHRAE data right out of the box. When you get the VE, we've got the 90.1 standard in there, all the constructions, all of the default systems. We have the ASHRAE 62 calculation in there. And we have a lot of the lead rating systems, lead 2.2, lead 3.0. If you do any international work, BREEAM rating system is supported. The proposed model, you create your proposed model, and the baseline model is automatically generated based on the ASHRAE requirements. The constructions are automatically applied based on what type of a climate zone you've selected or where you are in the world as per ASHRAE 90.1. Again, 50 predefined systems will be available in 10 days' time. The proposed systems, we're automatically creating the baseline models. They're automatically there, and you can automatically apply them. And the zoning is not automatically applied. This is more of a detailed level than at Gaia, obviously. But for the engineers in the room, you can get really detailed with this very quickly. 62, so you can either choose to apply ASHRAE 62 or not. For example, I did some work in California, and they have Title 24, and ASHRAE 62 isn't how they calculate their outside air volumes in California, so I could just ignore the ASHRAE 62 requirements. And in 6.4.1, we're going to allow you to import data from Excel and export data to Excel to modify room data. This will be available, again, at the pro level. Analyzing the results. We're not just getting data, we're not just getting numbers, we're getting graphics. And this is an interactive graph where I can click and drag on this at any given time step and find out any of these variables. I can find my solar radiation, my temperature, my wind speed, my wind direction, my wet bulb temperature, my cloud cover, anything inside the room as well, my temperature, my mean radiant temperature for doing ASHRAE 55, etc., etc. All of the reports are in the ASHRAE formats. So again, for the engineers in the room, 1.8.2, 1.8.1, all of those tables pre-created, ready to go for a lead submittal. Highlighting, we also have we can do simple rate structures. So for like the Gaia level, you can pick a very simple rate structure, but if you have a very complex rate structure, we can handle that as well. So a couple of case studies. I'm going to go over this one really quickly just to give you an idea. We can do there's really no limit to the size and scope of a project we can do. This is the Soa Island development in the United Arab Emirates. 5.7 million square feet, 4 office towers, 2 parking garages, a retail podium, and a central stock exchange, all from one model. 17.1% better than ASHRAE 90.1, just a sample of some of the systems that were modeled using the VE software and then submitted for the lead submittal. External shading devices, ventilated double skin facades, automatic blind control, occupancy sensors, dynamic daylight sensors, different types of HVAC systems, dual well energy recovery units, photovoltaic panels. We can model photochromatic glass. I'm going to talk now. I'm going to sort of switch gears a little bit. I started giving you a little bit more of the technical presentation there and some of the time-saving features within the VE. But I'm also going to talk to you about a specific case study project. And there's a link on our YouTube channel. I actually gave this presentation. I had a cold and I sound miserable in it, but I gave this presentation at Greenbuild last year, and then I gave it to the folks at IES when I was with HGA about a specific project that we took. It was sort of a pilot project, but we took the VE. We won the project. We won a design competition, and we carried it all the way through the CD phase submittal, and the building is currently under construction in Long Beach, California. Just the idea, this is the upper right image is what the building looks like within the VE. It was actually imported from Revit, and then all of the analysis was done based on that Revit import of geometry. The lower right is one of the graphs that was used within the competition phase, and there's more graphics on the YouTube. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I want DLR to talk more about what they've been able to do as well. Just give you an idea of some of the graphics that we could use to get the results that we needed and communicate them effectively to win competitions. Indeed, there were 36 competing teams to win the project. I will also say that when I was with HGA, I used the VE on 4 projects. We won all 4 of them. Why did we choose to use the VE? I alluded a little bit to this. Well, the competition and the owner requirements. We had to use BIM. We had to have something that we could interoperate with that BIM model, so we had to be able to get the information out of the BIM model to do analysis. We were required to interact with the client not only when we were designing the project, but also as a part of the competition. It was a 2-month time frame of a competition phase. We had a small stipend to work with. So we were we thought we were going to be limited with what we could do. But because the VE enabled us to do everything from one model, we were not actually that limited. I actually put together about a 47-page report summary of the work that was done, and it took me about 2 weeks to do all of the work and to create the report. Losing was not an option. When you're going to make an investment to go after a project where you're probably going to spend more than the stipend, losing was not an option. Needed to understand a local understanding without actually being local. Our Los Angeles office pursued this project, and the mechanical engineering department in our Minneapolis office supported them throughout this process. So we had to be able to get different weather files, and the VE supports any EPW file or Energy Plus weather file. You can just go to the website, download it, and the VE will read that Energy Plus weather file. We needed to find out, okay, once we have an understanding of the climate, what types of systems are going to be the best systems to pursue. And with natural ventilation being sort of a no-brainer in Southern California, the Los Angeles area, coastal California, we really wanted to find out how do we make a mixed mode system work in this type of a building. And there just wasn't another tool out there that could do to the level that the VE could take it to this type of analysis. Needed to stand out from the crowd, right? We're competing against 36 other teams. How are we going to differentiate ourselves? And by demonstrating a more integrated design team, and the VE was a great tool for supporting that process. And again, another case study, if you will. We looked at HGA, we're doing lean design processes, and the idea is to shift the lean design so that you're doing most of your analysis work earlier on in the project, so that it has less of an impact on the cost. Obviously, the later you wait, the less likely you're going to be able to get something in, and the more impact on cost it's going to have on your project. There was a project at UW-Madison that HGA undertook where the only consultant that didn't participate in the integrated design process was the plumbing consultant. And of the, I forget how many hundreds of RFIs on the project, 80% of them were plumbing related. So even though the design team members didn't necessarily have the commitment early on and said we don't necessarily have the budget to participate early on, everyone but one saw the value of participating earlier on because it reduced their CA expenditures after the fact. Back to Harvard College, competition phase versus design phase. We started all of these different types of analysis in the competition phase very early on. CFD very early on, natural ventilation, mixed mode studies, daylighting studies, solar energy, wind energy, fully integrated energy model, integrating all these parts together. Didn't have to recreate any of that work. Just started that picked up where we left off in the competition phase and carried it through design. Outcomes. Architects and engineers worked more closely. The way HG was sort of structured is our Los Angeles office, every office was sort of responsible for being profitable on their own. What we found is that I developed a very good relationship with many of the architects in our LA office, and they would call me up and be like, I need you to quickly put something together for a presentation. Can you do it? Oh, absolutely. The interoperability piece, not having to have multiple different pieces of software makes it streamlined and easier for everyone to understand the bigger picture. A variety of graphical outputs that communicate the information. We're not just talking about numbers. Yeah, I can get numbers. I can get numbers for all the engineers in the room, but I can also get graphics that'll stand out from the other graphics out of the software as well. More analysis at all phases. Pretty extensive list for a competition, right? We don't really have anything finalized. But because it's quick enough and accurate enough, we felt comfortable to be able to do these things. And HGA continues to do these types of things with the VE on projects today. Saving time with only one model being built. A wider variety of analysis options. So when you climate, building shape, form, daylight and glare, envelope optimization, glazing optimization, solar shading studies, HVAC systems, renewable systems, computational fluid dynamics, all from one model. Improved communication. One model, again, improves that communication. And these are just some examples of the type of graphics we can get out. I can get the data. I can get all of the numbers, hour by hour. I can even do minute by minute data out of this if I wanted to. But that isn't necessary for all types of projects either. Reduces the human error again. So the VE, and I'm sure DLA will talk more about this as well, but the idea of we can take something from master planning, conceptual, even before you even have necessarily what you know what the building is going to look like. You just know some programmatic requirements, perhaps. We can start to analyze that data. Obviously, you're not looking for the hard number. You're looking for deltas. You're looking for what's better. Did I get better or worse if I improve my glass or if I add glass? That's what you're looking for earlier on. But then being able to carry that into the point where you're starting to fine-tune it and getting the number out later on, that can be done as well. So I'm going to turn this over to DLR. I don't. Do you want to do questions now? Okay.
Yeah, I've got a question about the support for a team that's just starting to learn the product. I mean, are there webinars? Are there is there somebody to answer the tech questions? Are there YouTube tutorials? What kind of resources are there for a team to, if it makes the investment, what kind of support can it expect?
Well, I'll answer that in three different ways, because we do, since we are also consultants, we appreciate the need to understand the tools that you're working with. It makes us a little bit unique. We do three different ways for training. Well, actually, there's four. You can go on our user forums on our website. You can go on YouTube and search IES VE, especially the Google SketchUp channel. We have at least 2, maybe 4 videos on how to integrate the VE early on with the SketchUp model. We also do web-based training. We do face-to-face training, and we also do what we call project-based training. And I think, my humble opinion, having done all of those things as a user before joining IES, I think the project-based training by far is the most value. We'll come in, you tell us, okay, we have a project, this is going to be our pilot project, we want to use the VE. Help us get started. Tell us what your goals are, we'll put together a quote for doing this. We'll either do it face-by-face or over the web or a mixture or however we need to do it, but then we'll make sure that you get through that project using the VE. And for me, that was where I learned the most and became the most proficient with it.